Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7 and my name is Wulandari. Today we are gonna talk about stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferer. We're split it into 4 parts. First is HIV and stigma, and then stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferer, and then the causes and the effects of stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferer, and then the last one is the solution of to reduce the stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferer. In the first slide, we're going to talk about HIV. So, what is HIV? HIV is HIV or human immunodeficiency virus is a virus that attacks cells that help body fight infection, and it is making people more vulnerable to other infection and disease. HIV only transmitted from body fluid from people with HIV, like blood, breast milk, or semen, and you will not get HIV only from saliva, tears, or sweat, except it is mixed with blood of people with HIV. And hugging or shaking hand is not gonna transmitting the virus. And if this virus not treated well, it will lead into AIDS. And once people get HIV, they will have it for their life. And there is currently no effective cure for HIV, but with proper medical care, HIV can be controlled and people can live long and healthy lives and protect their partners. We'll move to the next slide about stigma. Stigma is a mark of disgrace that sets a person apart from other. Negative attitudes and belief toward them create prejudice, which leads into negative action and discrimination. For example, believing that only certain group of people that can get HIV, or feeling that people that get HIV is because of their choices. Next slide is about stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferer. Since the beginning of HIV epidemic, stigma and discrimination have been identified as the major obstacle in the way of effective responses to HIV. HIV discrimination is the act of treating people with HIV differently with those without HIV. For example, healthcare professional that refuse to provide care and services to HIV sufferer, or refusing contact with someone living in HIV, or social isolating a member of community because they are HIV sufferer. The HIV-related stigma and discrimination is a complex social process that interacts with and reinforces the pre-existing stigma and discrimination associated with sexuality, gender, race, and poverty.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur'Aulia Febriskanadya A, and I will tell you about the causes and the effects of stigma and discrimination against HIV sufferers. The first causes is the lack of information and awareness. Stigma and discrimination against sufferers arises in relation to ignorance of the mechanism of HIV transmission, overestimation of rates of contracting HIV through casual contact, and disproportionate negative attitudes towards social groups affected by the HIV or AIDS epidemic. The second cause is wrong information about HIV. One of the causes of stigma is misinformation about HIV is transmitted. From the results of research in the United States that about 40 to 50% of people believe that HIV can be transmitted through sneezing droplets or coughing, drinking from the same glass, and using a public toilet, while 20% believe it that kissing on the cheek can transmit HIV. That's for the causes, and the next is for the effect. So the first effect is the sufferers feel isolated, feel rejected by both family and society. They are anxious and uncertain about their disease, its progress and treatment, are anxious about new symptoms, are worried about the threat or death. The second effect is affect their mental health. They will feel sad, helpless, feel inferior, feel guilty, feel worthless, hopeless, suicidal, withdraw, have trouble sleeping, and lose their appetite. And the last one is hindering government programs in the wake of HIV or AIDS relief efforts in communities. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zavira Lintang and I will explain about solution. First, reduce the stigma through protest. Research suggests that stigma may be reduced by protest, education, and contact. Through protest, stigma is presented as morally unjust, and people are encouraged not to act in appropriate ways. Second, educate people the proper information of HIV. HIV education can help learners to not only develop and maintain safer behaviors, but also reduce the stigma and discrimination towards people affected by and living with HIV. Many people believe that HIV transmission is a touch between hands. HIV can be transmitted only in certain body fluids from a person who has HIV. These fluids are blood, seminal fluid, unprotected sex, and also use string alternating. Third, take action and campaign. Community-wide social marketing campaign and most often through mass media so voice those with HIV who still had the right to stay and support them. And the last, in conclusion, higher levels of stigma and discrimination against HIV were associated with lack of in-depth knowledge on HIV and orientation about policies against stigma and discrimination. Hence, the government must ensure institutional support through filing of clear policies and guidelines and the provision of appropriate training on the management of HIV and AIDS. And that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.